Welcome back, everybody. Got Henry Yianakopolos with me here today. Gone super far with his athletic career. He's gone all the way to URI, has applied for the NFL draft, and he's got a lot of experiences both here in the town of Hopkinton and beyond that I think you guys are going to really enjoy hearing about. So, Henry, appreciate you being here today. Welcome.
Appreciate you having me, Drew.
Yeah. So, RedHawks starting out, high school football. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so kind of had a unique experience in high school. We didn't really have a football team when I came in as a
Yeah.
freshman. It was a club team actually that my older brother started, and it was combined with Hillsborough and Hopkinton, but it was just clubs. So we played in a league of 4 teams, and from there I kind of knew that I wanted to play football at the highest level I could. And so I knew that playing at that level, at a club level, wasn't going to do it for me, and I wasn't going to be able to get to the collegiate success that I was able to. So what happened was freshman year, I played club, went 0-9. I was playing quarterback then. Got destroyed. But, the experience was good. And then from there, I started exploring. I was thinking about going to Concord, maybe moving there, maybe going to Bishop Brady. Thinking about other schools that had good programs going on that I was going to be able to start at and play at. From there, my parents had talked to the parents that had started the club team, and then some other people in Hillsborough, and we made this co-op team that was actually a sanctioned team by the NHIA. So then it was sophomore, junior, got to play JV football, creating our own team, a real sanctioned team. And then senior was our first year actually varsity. Didn't do so well because it was Division II. However, the experience that I gained from there was perfect and what I needed to get to the next level.
What mentors shaped your development as a player and as a person that helped you along the way?
Yeah, it really just speaks to family. I feel like I was raised correctly. My parents both instilled the correct values in me to work hard and go after what you want. And I knew what I wanted at a young age. I knew I wanted to go play college ball and then go play professional ball. And they instilled that in me to work, to do whatever it took. And they were with me the whole ride. And they supported me no matter what I wanted to do. So that was a huge process of it.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think people take that for granted so much, and that's something super valuable to have in your life. So just highlight real quick some of your favorite experiences in high school, whether it's football or other sports or just your favorite memories.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at sports, you look back at high school. The thing is just like spending time with the people you care about. Make some good friends along the way. But the sports things, I mean, big thing that pops up is I hadn't won a championship my whole career. And it took me till my last sport, my senior year, which was lacrosse.
Yeah.
And I always said that I played basketball and lacrosse as a way to stay in shape for football, which I stand on that. I think that I played other sports to keep me balanced and work other parts and muscle groups and stuff to get me ready for football season because football was ultimately my end goal. But, I had a great time doing it and got to meet some cool people and become friends with some really great people. And that championship was probably the highlight. Just loved that. And then also just being part of the first ever varsity team here in New Hampshire, for Hopkinton. So that was definitely the biggest thing. And that first night under lights at Manchester West, solidifying our first game and beating them actually. So those were the best moments for sure.
That's really awesome that you have those memories. Once you were starting to get away from high school and, junior, senior year, you got to start thinking about colleges. You were probably thinking about playing football. What was that whole process like, and how'd you wind up at URI?
Yeah, so my junior year, I tore my shoulder in basketball, actually, a basketball game in Hillsborough, which is kind of funny. And so I tore that. I was out for the rest of the season, and then I ended up missing my next lacrosse season as well. I tore my labrum fully, so needed surgery on that. And I was going to camps my freshman, sophomore year as a quarterback and a safety. So I was pretty stern on being a quarterback at the next level. And Jay Wood, who's the head coach for the Hillsborough football team now, was my quarterback coach, and he was taking me to do private lessons and stuff, and we were doing drills and stuff and working quarterback to work to the next level. So I tore my right shoulder and I couldn't throw a ball. And so now I was like, I got to switch everything up. So my little brother Caleb took over as a quarterback. So I started playing with a receiver, running back, safety. And so at the next level, I was like, all right, so I'm going to have to be a defensive guy now. So switch up everything that I trained for. And so I wasn't getting any interest. I wasn't getting recruited at all. Maybe some D3 schools that wanted me to play like both lacrosse and football or baseball and football. But nothing to the level that I wanted to play at. And I was pretty stern on playing at the highest level I could, and I wanted to play Division I football. And I had hired this company called NCSA, and they were going to help recruit me and put me in places. And so he told me I could either be the big guy on Saturday at a D3 school, or I could work my way up, be a small fish in a big pond at a Division I school. I said, I want to take my chance.
Yeah.
I want to go play Division I football, and reached out to URI, reached out to UNH because I had gotten in there as a regular student. I'd already gotten in and applied and got into both their business schools. So I reached out both of them saying I wanted to play. Went and visited UNH, they said you'd actually have to try to walk on here. You won't be given a spot here. And I said, okay. URI was like, we'll give you a preferred walk-on position. You have a spot to come here and camp in the summer of 2017. You got a spot on the team, you just don't get any money. And so felt a little disrespected by UNH because I wanted to play for my hometown. I thought that would be great. Put on for your hometown. But they didn't want me, so I went to URI, and it was nice. It was kind of a silver lining there because I was able to leave my hometown, leave my home state, and go do something else to discover new things. And so finally went there. It was a long process, but finally decided I wanted to go be that little guy in a big pond and go figure myself out and work for what I got.
Yeah. What are a lot of the experiences that you have playing Division I football behind the scenes, especially when you're just starting out, like you said, like the small fish in the big pond?
Yeah.
Like, what do you go through that people really don't notice or observe from the outside looking in?
Yeah. So people coming from here, a lot of people are going to be top of their class, best athletes in their class. And when you go play college, anything, everybody was the best at their school. Not everybody gets to go play college ball. Only the best go to get to play college. So the big thing I can tell people is to go in with an open mind and ready to work. There's kids that are coming from Texas, Alabama, California, these big places that just breed these players, whether it be football or another sport. And you're coming in from, whether it be just New Hampshire, which has good football and has good sports, but it doesn't compare to some of these other places. And you got to be willing to work, and you can't be expecting to start right away, instant gratification. Can't be something you're expecting. And if you're willing to work for anything, and if you're willing to work to get your piece of the pie, if you will, then it'll all be worth it and it'll make it happen. But I've seen too many kids just take their first year and not get what they want and quit when it took me 4 years to get what I wanted. And you just gotta put your head down and work.
Yeah. Instant gratification. That's something that you mentioned about a year ago when I interviewed you at UNH. And I think that's such a huge lesson for a lot of younger people out there. I mean, we see stuff, whether it's on social media or whatever, that we really want. But are you really willing to work for it? Are you willing to put in the time? What does it take? Can you kind of just give us a couple key bullet points of like managing all that? Because schoolwork is a lot. Football is a lot at that level. So it's like 2 full-time jobs at once. And you also have to have time for you and take care of you.
Right.
Because if you keep, doing just this all at once, then your mental health gets burned out, right? And you got like nothing left. So how do you manage all that? Because I think that's something that everybody tries to do, is they're trying to, in their lives, become the best version of themselves, which can help us in society, but it's just so much to manage. What's your advice for everybody out there listening?
No doubt. That's a really good point. I think the biggest thing that you have to realize if you're willing to take on a challenge like this is you have to make sacrifice. And for an athlete at a Division I level, sacrifice is your social life, really. And you got school, you got football. And for me, it was easy to be like, I want this so bad that I don't need to go party, or I don't need to go do this, I don't need to go do that. I found my ways to do that because of the fact that I wasn't playing the first couple of years, and I felt that I had time to go do other things in this, and I was doing well in school and all that. But in that first semester, that first couple semesters, people going to college and they have other activities going on, they realize that it's a struggle because you don't have that in high school. In high school, you'll have class, you'll go practice, then you'll come back, you have time to do homework. Now, people have class till like 8 p.m. The schedule's all different. You're away from your parents. Nobody's telling you to do your work. You got to make sure you do it on yourself. And the professors are like, if you're giving effort, we care. But if you're not giving effort, we don't care. You're going to fail. And that just is what it is. And that's the sad truth. You got to put in the work, and you'll see it come back from the professors. But sacrifice is huge. And what are your goals? It's once you figure out things in college and once you find that schedule and that time management and make it work correctly, you got to really list out what your goals are and what's really important to you. And a lot of people, you say family, you say sports, you say school. That's the most thing. That's the top priority right there. And social life comes in a little bit later than that. So for me, it was just, I came here to play football, and I came here to get a good education and get a degree. And when I came in, school was hard, but guess what? You've got resources through athletics, like advisors, tutors and stuff that are there to help you. So you got to be willing to use your resources and have people help you if you need that help. You can't just try to do everything on your own. Sometimes people need a little bit more than that. Some people can figure it out, some people can't, and there's not a problem to ask for help.
Yeah. So you were there for 6 years, right?
Yep.
So what's that educationally look like? Because I know a lot of people typically go in for a 4-year degree. So were you taking classes all that time throughout all those 6 years? And how did your degree kind of work into that? And just like at the same time you're working on football, you're also working on, your academics and learning.
Right. So a lot of people don't know how the whole eligibility works for football. So if you don't play your first year, you get a red shirt. It's called a red shirt, which means that it doesn't count towards your football years, but it counts towards your school years. So now, right off the bat, now you've got 5 years, right? So the 4 years that you have in college, you got 4 years to play. And if you play within those four, starting your freshman year, then you only have 4 years of college. But if you redshirt, now you got 5 years. So I redshirted my first year, so I'd be a freshman in the classroom and a freshman on the field. But then the next year, I'd be a sophomore in the classroom, but a freshman again on the field.
Yeah.
So you reclassify in a sense, but your academics stay the same. I went into school knowing that I wanted to finish my degree in 4 years because I didn't know if I was going to earn a scholarship. I didn't know if I was going to be done in 4 years. I didn't know if I was going to have a chance at the NFL. So I was like, I'm just going to get my degree in 4 years and see what happens. So when I was a senior, I graduated in May of 2021, my first time. I was technically still a redshirt junior. I was still a junior on the field, so I had another year. And so my degree was in marketing and a minor in sports media communications. So graduated May of 2021 with a marketing degree and a minor in sports media. But then I also had 2 more years because in the middle of my career, I had COVID. And the season of COVID didn't count for anybody, so it was like a second redshirt. So now I had graduated, but I still had 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I didn't know if I wanted to come back. I didn't know if they wanted me back in a sense until I finally received a call from my head coach being like, "You've got a full ride to come back. We want you back." And I was like, "All right, let's do it."
Yeah.
So now I wasn't getting school. So school was all paid for by the school and then in the athletic program. So I was like, "All right, let's do that." So now I had 2 years. So now I can pick either doing a master's since I already graduated, or I could just get a second degree.
Yeah.
So I had already had a business bachelor's degree, and I was like, I don't want to get a business master's degree. I want to get another bachelor in something else.
Okay.
So I took my sports media minor and made it into another bachelor's degree. So now in 2022, December, I graduated with a communications degree and a minor in sports media. So now I've got 2 bachelors and a minor degree and got to play 6 years of football.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, so more school, which was great. And now I got more degrees and yeah, we'll see if I end up using those. Right now I'm on a different path, but it's all good.
Yeah, so you were in a situation where at the end of the year last year you were trying to apply for the NFL draft. I know that you were working out like crazy. You were really trying to make that push. What was that whole process like? Because that's not something a lot of people know about.
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy process. I think the biggest thing about that is, my coach always told me, he said, "You've got a lot of people in college right now caring about you, reaching out to you. Once you leave here, there aren't going to be as many people reaching out to you and talking to you and seeing how you're doing." And so you don't really know if that's true or not. And right when you're done there, after my 6th year, I left. And I didn't really have that. I just kind of had to figure things out by myself. You had resources you could reach out to, but I was like, I got to find an agent. I got to find out where I'm going to train for this.
Yeah.
You got to train. It's very sports specific. It's very, very drill specific for the combine and everything. And I just sent out hundreds and hundreds of emails to NFLPA agents and stuff and was like, anybody want to take a chance on me? And out of those couple hundred I sent out, I only got like 3 responses.
Wow.
And so finally hooked up with this guy. His name's Mike Chen. He's a lawyer in Concord actually, and only New Hampshire NFLPA certified agent. And I was like, hey, New Hampshire, I'm kind of an underdog. Like, I think that's a great story and stuff. So I ended up hiring him as my agent. Still my agent today for coaching and everything. So very grateful for him. And then I had to figure out where I was going to train. And so, I had been invited to a Dream Bowl down in Texas.
Okay.
So that was the all-star game for seniors. So I went down to Texas, and straight from Texas, I ended up deciding to go train with a guy named Terry Grissetti in Pennsylvania. Grissetti Performance Gym in Newcastle. Great experience. Flew right there from Texas and started training. And then that was an 8-week program where it's you sleep there, you eat, train, everything for 8 weeks just straight. It's just training for the pro day until the pro day. So that was from the end of January till May or March or whenever I had the pro day. And it was just consisted of just eating, putting on weight. I started at 212 when I showed up there because I lost a lot of weight from the game and got up to 226. So, you're just pounding calories, pounding protein, fats, everything you need. And just training hard for drills every day, same thing. And very cool experience and rigorous. Tough on you mentally because you're by yourself for a lot of the time, just hanging out in your hotel room. But you got to keep reminding yourself why you are doing what you're doing and the goals that you've set for yourself for your whole life, and that it's coming down to that one moment that's coming up and you're training for.
So not getting drafted, how did that impact you? Because you had worked your ass off. You had
Yeah.
put in so much work over the years to get to that point.
Yeah.
What were you feeling? Were you feeling regret for training so hard? Or were you just like happy, said, hey, I gave my everything I had to this. And hey, I found out and I would rather do this than have not done this, and always wondered what if.
Yeah. There was times in my last 6 year where in the middle of the season where I was just beat up, physically just going through it. And I talked to my DC, Jack Cooper, and I had voiced to him. I was like, I don't know if I want to try to pursue the next level. I was like, I'm just tired, and I think I just want to like move on and kind of do the next thing. And he's like, all right, well, don't make such a decision right now. Why don't you see how you feel at the end of the season? He was right. And it's tough going through a season and you feel how you feel because it's like this because it's so much work and all that. But he's right. The season came after, and I was just like, "You're right. I want to do this." But after training and everything, there's a month period after your pro day where you're with it before the draft. So you're like at that whole month where you're just training and you're just like, I have no idea what's gonna happen. And some of your friends, like teammates of mine, like Ed Lee, Jordan Jones, who got shots at the NFL, were getting hit up by teams, having interviews and everything, and I wasn't. And I was like, that's fine. This is how it's been my whole life. I've always been the underdog in this sense, and if it's gonna happen, it's probably gonna happen on the day after the draft, and probably won't get drafted, and that's fine with me. But I ended up going to see my sister, who had just had her child, my nephew. So I was down there and able to kind of take my mind off things, train down there in Florida, and then also see her and be with family.
Yeah.
My whole family was down there. But when the draft came, a week before the draft, my agent called me and he said, hey, the GM from the British Columbia Lions and the CFL just called. They said, if the NFL doesn't happen, you don't get your shot, we'd love to have you up for camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is the best thing ever. He's like, you're going to play professional football. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And I was at a CVS with my mom, and she started crying, and I kind of started crying too. And it's kind of the idea that like I had that going into the draft, so I knew I was going to play professional football regardless. And sure enough, the draft came and went. And days after the draft, I didn't hear anything, and it was kind of time. I was talking to my agent. He was like, this is your opportunity to go play. I would take this. I was like, you're right. He's like, we can wait another night, or we could just sign this contract now. I was like, let's sign the contract. I want to go play football. Like, I don't care where it is. Let's go play ball. So there was no point in me that was like discouraged really. Mentally it's the hardest thing, more than physically or anything. Mentally it's the hardest thing to get through. But having that going into the draft, knowing I was going to play football no matter what was a big thing for me, and was keeping me going. And I was just finally got on the phone with the GM. I was about to go out to dinner with my family, and I finally got on the phone with him, and he was like, yeah, man. He's like, we like what you have. We love that's your character and that kind of stuff, and that's super important. So just want to send you over the contract and get you started here and get you up for camp in a couple months. So
Yeah. So what was that whole process like going up to Canada and just what you were taking in and witnessing? Was that similar to what you had experienced before at URI, or was there some really major changes?
yeah, it's weird, right? Because you go from you're 18 years old going into college, and now you're playing with these other like teenagers, but also some like young 20-year-olds, but everybody's at college, and now you take your trip, right? It took 3 flights to get over to Vancouver. It was on the other side of Canada. It was Vancouver, right above Seattle. And take that flight, and then it's in Kamloops, which is like 200 miles north of Vancouver. So it was in this we went to this college in Canada, and that's where our training camp was. And people are there because this is their profession. Now we're getting paid to do this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm playing football. I'm getting paid to play football. And like the funny thing is that some of these people are like 30-year-olds now, and it's different because they have families, they have kids, and they're doing this to provide for their families. In college, you're doing it because you're having fun and you want to play at the next level. This is the next level, and now I'm playing in the second best league in the world, and these guys are the best of the best. And like half the people there are just people that came from the NFL, that like their NFL dreams were done. They played for 4 or 5 years. Now they want to play in the CFL. So I was going up against the best, and you show up, and they have the rookie man camp for 3 days. I'm showing up with their draft picks from Canada and stuff, and became really good friends with some of those guys that are still on the team today. And it was incredible. I was like living out my dream of what I've always dreamed of doing. And I was like, since a young age, I told myself I want to play professional football. Yeah, the goal was the NFL, but you can't complain when you're still playing professional football. And I was so happy, and I was competing with those guys every day in and day out, and was there for a week and a half. And this was like their 3rd round of cuts. I'd made it through 2 rounds of cuts. We had a scrimmage coming up in the weekend, and I just wanted to make it there to show what I could do during a game atmosphere and situation. And I went into meetings and had my phone off because you don't want your phone going off during meetings. It's
of
like
course.
That's a crime right there. So I had my phone off, turned my phone on. I'm talking to my buddy, and I get a text from the GM saying, come meet me in my office. And it's cut day, so you kind of know what's coming, and it's kind of a shock. You're like, damn, like I didn't expect this to happen. And so I head to his hotel room, kind of just sits me down and is like, look, he's like, the linebacker position is filled with Canadians this year, and really good Canadians. We don't usually have that depth there, and we didn't know we were going to have that depth there when we brought you on. You had a really good practice today, but we needed to see that a little bit earlier. And the way the CFL works is that you can only have so many Americans on a team. That's what makes it. That's what differentiates it from the NFL.
Okay.
So there was enough Canadians in the linebacker depth where they were able to use Americans elsewhere at like quarterback and receiver. So they didn't want to waste an American in the linebacker room. So they ended up keeping one American for that whole linebacker room. So they didn't need two. So they let me go because that was my position. And they liked what I did, and I made sure that it didn't have anything to do with who I was as a person, my character, my effort. They said they loved me for all that stuff. It was just they needed to see a little bit more from me. Like they saw the exact day I got cut, I had a really good practice, but they needed to see more of that earlier on, and they wanted to use Americans elsewhere on the depth. So you can't be mad at it. Yeah. You know, I gave everything I had, and you know, if they had come at me and been like, "You're just not showing enough effort," I would have been devastated. But it wasn't like that. I was giving it all, running the ball, playing my heart out, knew the playbook. Was able to communicate out there, was a great communicator. Everything that I prided myself on, I did, and it was other things that got me cut. So, you know, I'm very happy with how I performed, and you know, I did all I could, and you know, you can't complain with that. So it was a crazy process though, and then it's tough because then, you know, he says, "Here's your ticket, here's your plane flight for like 4 a.m." It's like immediately turn around. It's like you're out of here. So it's just fast, and
that's gonna be like a really, really tough moment for you, obviously, and then it's like it's quick too, like you just mentioned. So. Man, I'm sorry about that, but you gotta be super proud of yourself for how far you made it with everything. Mm-hmm. Then when you were there, how long were you there for exactly?
It was about a week and a half.
Yeah.
Made it through. They do the first cuts after rookie camp. Made it through that. Then the vets came in, started competing with them, and they made another cuts after another week. And then about half a week before the scrimmage, they made another big roster cut. Then, and that's where I got cut.
So a lot of football is just physicality and like building up your muscle, getting stronger and everything. But a lot of the game is also mentally as well. Like you just talked about learning the playbook and everything. Like how much time does it take to learn that? How complicated is it for us out there who are fans of football? But like, I know that's a very complicated process.
Yeah, I mean, for people that watch football, they can understand what's happening. I truly believe that. I think it's like whether it's cover 4, right, cover 2, you understand how safeties kind of spread themselves out, the disguise they're using, where the rotation is weak, strong. The intricacies of a playbook is like understand what everybody's doing and understanding what's happening and why people are doing what they're doing. But it's just that there's so many more coverages. Like you might know they're playing cover 4, but like what type of cover 4? There's so many different types, and a team might have multiple cover 4s, multiple cover 2s, cover 3s, cover 7s, whatever it might be. But it's really all how you compartmentalize the playbook and how you dive into studying it. And so I think that my brain and the way that I adapt to a playbook is that I just know exactly how to divvy things up, what I'm supposed to see, and how to put things into buckets. And once you put certain things into buckets, it all makes sense in the same family as a defense. And so that doesn't really make sense for a lot of people probably, but the way that you learn your defense is you have families. So it might be a type of defense is like NHL teams.
Yeah.
And so if an NHL team's called, that's a certain defense for us. If an NFL team's called, that's a certain defense. So you study things like families of defense for like that, and then it all comes together and you understand. Then you can conceptualize and then understand why we're doing things. And then the best players become three-dimensional players. So as a nickel linebacker, right, I understood what was happening at safety, I understood what was happening at linebacker, and I understood what was happening at D-line. So once you understand that, then you can put yourself in the puzzle and make plays based off of what everybody else is doing because you understand where people are supposed to be. So I think that people outside of football can understand big concepts of what's happening, cover 4, cover 2 thing, but once it gets to the nitty gritty and what people are actually doing and why they're doing things, that's where it starts to get complex, and that's where the best really show themselves versus just the athletes, the people that can really conceptualize the playbook.
As a defensive player, I know you talked a lot about like this, just kind of looking at the defensive side of the playbook. Do you look at the offensive side as well just to understand what the offense is doing?
Oh my gosh, bro. When you're studying, like for an opponent, all you're doing is watching the offense. And, you know, I've gone to the quarterback coach, our OC, and be like, why do you guys do this? Why do you guys do that? Or offensive players, and why are you guys running this? You converting this here for what reason? Because my drop is based off what other people with the route concept. So all week I'm just studying their route concepts they're based. So if they're running verts and I'm in cover 3, I know that if I'm in cover 3, I've got a chance to go man coverage. I want to carry that seam vertical and stuff to help out the post safety. But like if he's gonna go out, I gotta sail tech and come up and help something coming over. So it's all like there's so many different things. You gotta see why and who runs what for what reason. And since I'm a nickel, I'm lined up on the inside receiver most of the time, the number 2 receiver. So I always watch him. How hard does he play? How hard does he go? What does he do well? How hard does he break his routes here? When does he break his routes here? Why does he do this? And once you do that, and once you study film and you can learn how to study film correctly, that's when the game starts to slow down for you, because you're able to understand what your opponent's doing before they're even going to do it. And there'll be times where I just look at a formation and see a guy and I already know what he's about to do. And that's where you make plays. And especially a guy like me who, I believe I was a good athlete, but there's guys that were much better athletes. But the reason I was on the field versus them is because I understood things much better than them, and I could put myself in places that they wouldn't be, because they don't understand the playbook like I do. And so just looking at a guy lined up on the hash or plus the hash, I said, he's going to run over. I got to take it before it even happens. So then I'm able to think a step ahead because I already know what he's going to do. But he doesn't know what I'm going to do because I'm messing around with my alignment. So that's when the game starts to become fun. It's a chess match between you and who you're playing. It's really fun. It really is.
Wow, I think that's very cool that you're able to just know ahead of time what they're going to do and put yourself in position to
Study,
succeed.
man. It's just like school for your test, you know?
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool. So after being cut from the CFL and coming back home, were you just kind of shocked and you didn't know what was next, or did you have an idea right away that you were going to be doing something else?
Yeah, so that part was super tough mentally. I got cut, went and visited my buddy afterwards in DC just to take some time off and just relax and just like kind of regain myself. And talking to my agent every day, being like, what's next? And the XFL was having a draft coming up. I think it was one of their first drafts. And I was like, all right, let's go see what happens, see if I get drafted to the XFL, see if I get any interest from other places. I had a team in Germany hit me up a while back before the NFL draft and was like, if anything doesn't work out, come play in Germany. And at the time, I was like, I don't really want to go overseas.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really think that. In hindsight, I wish I did do that, because that would have been a super cool experience to go play in Europe. I mean, that would have been really, really cool. And that the way they lay out their league and the way that they pay players and stuff is really kind of cool. For Americans, it's full-time. For the other players, it's kind of just like a part-time thing, but they pay you full-time with benefits and stuff if you're an American coming overseas. So I wish I did do that. However, when I came back, there was a lot of time where I just wasn't hearing anything, and my agent was just working, trying to get me something, and I was reaching out to people. The XFL draft came and went. I didn't get drafted there. And then I was talking to my DC, who's now the DC now, who's the linebackers coach, because the DC at the time that I had went to Wisconsin to coach there. So they promoted the inside linebackers coach, Coach Laurenti, and I had called him and I said, do you guys need help for coaching? And my buddy Jake, who I played with for 6 years, who played inside linebacker, was coaching there, and I was talking to him, and they're like, yeah, let's get you up here. They're like, see how long it takes and how long you want to pursue the football thing, and if nothing hears, then we'll have you here. So I didn't hear anything for a while, wasn't hearing anything at all, and I was like, all right, it's not like mentally this is exhausting. I'm still at home. I didn't want to be at home. I had to go home for a little bit because I didn't have anywhere to stay, and I wasn't making any money because I got cut. And all I was doing was working at a restaurant in Concord, but I was at home, just working at Concord to make some money. And so then I was like, all right, I need to go. I need to move on from my life and kind of go do something. And I finally went down to Rhode Island in the summer and started working with defensive backs as the Nichols coach and helping the new defensive backs coach that came in, helping him adjust and everything. And then he took over. And so kind of started my career as a coach. And then I actually just finished up my first season as a coach. So looking forward to season number 2. Getting into the off season now, which is all about recruiting and getting guys to come see the school and come play for us. So the transition was interesting. I always kind of knew that I wanted to do coaching. I didn't know if I wanted to get into it right away because of the schedule. And I kind of wanted to see if there's other things out there other than football. But you play football for so long, it just becomes like kind of what you do.
Yeah.
And it's obviously the thing I know best. And I just know I can feed my information to young kids and young adults. And like the coach did for me, that kind of changed my life, my mentor in life. His big thing was he just wants to just create young men. And so I want to create young men. And I felt like kind of a coachish as a player, trying to help these guys as a leader and try to build these kids as young men as a leader. And so I was like, I can do that as a coach. Yeah. And that's kind of just where I fall in. And that's where I'm at now. And coaching was a great year. I'm ready to move on. I want to move on to another school, go learn a new defense, and go kind of broaden my horizon and learn a new defense, go out west somewhere, go coach Power 5 somewhere, be a GA or whatever comes an analyst, and start a new chapter in that sense. But coach is what I'm going to keep doing until until it's not something I love, but I love it right now, so I'm going to keep going until. So So
Well, what's different about the perspective as a coach than
yeah,
as a player? Like, are there things that you did as a player that, like, when coaches would give you a response that you didn't really understand,
yeah,
then you started coaching and you're like, oh, I get why the coach said it
yep.
this way.
That's exactly what it is. To be honest with you, you sit in meetings now and you hear what you heard as a player, but now you hear it in the office, and you're like, oh, that's why they're coaching me that way. That's why they said it that way, and you start to understand it, and you start to understand why kids react the ways that they do. But then again, you're like, I don't know why you're acting like that if you're just kind of being hypocritical the way that you act on the field, and we're trying to coach you and you're angry about that. Doesn't really make sense, but you're starting to learn, like, you can see now both sides, which is huge, so for me, I'm trying to coach the way that I want it to be coached, very black and white, here's this, here's that, but also there's times for a little bit of leniency when you're talking to kids that get it. You know what I mean? There's kids that you need to be they need to be coached harder than other kids because other kids don't understand it, or their foundation isn't as strong as some other kids, and so you really got to adapt your coaching to kids because some kids get coached different ways, and that's something I'm starting to learn, and that's really hard. Is that there's some kids that just get it, and then you don't have to coach them as much because they just get it and they understand what they did wrong. There's other kids that don't necessarily get it. It's not their fault. It's just how they are as football players, and you got to coach them harder because they don't get it and they need to be coached. They don't figure it out right away. So it's a lot of this and that, and neither is better than the other. You know what I mean? It's just different, and so you just got to be able to adapt as a coach to different styles and different play styles and different learning styles, and it's like a teacher in a classroom too. But now you're just coaching football, and at the end of the day, you're coaching football, which is really cool, right? You're just talking about football all day. So that's also a dream come true. And my goal is, I couldn't make it as an NFL athlete, but I'm gonna make it as an NFL coach. And one day I'll be there and I'll be coaching one of the best teams, and I'll be a head coach there one day. Whether it's at the highest level, and you'll see me at Alabama or Clemson or something, or you'll see me in the NFL doing that same thing. So my big thing now is I couldn't do it as a player, I'm gonna do it as a coach. I'm gonna go coach the highest level.
Wow. I love that mentality and just that approach to everything.
Gotta have it.
You talked about just being a young man, and you are somebody who you're in your mid-20s right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
25.
yeah, so like you've been through a lot of stuff that has shaped you into the guy you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what that's like. There's a lot of stuff out there, advice on the internet for young people, young men, just like different approaches. And some argue that, oh, this is the right approach, no, this is the right approach. And I think we can all agree that there's a lot on the internet that they'll say is the right approach that's definitely not the right approach.
No.
So what's your fundamentals, your advice based off of the experiences you've had to just become a good young man, or, just overall a good person? Because we have people both genders listening and everything, so just what makes a good person, what experiences, what do you gotta do in life to become the best version of yourself?
Yeah, I like that a lot. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that's just like, there's some good stuff, so you got to be able to have the right mindset to take pieces and pieces from things you see on the internet, because the internet's so big now. It's like you're not gonna not see stuff. So for me, my advice is you gotta be comfortable being uncomfortable. A big thing is that coming from a small town like this, a lot of people were very comfortable where we are, right? Because we're in a small niche group. There's not a lot of stuff that's challenging us, really. And so you need to branch out and make yourself uncomfortable and find things that you're not good at and try to get good at that. Find your weaknesses and exploit those. A big thing is just work hard. I think a lot of things with this generation, there's kids that just want the money now, want this now. If you're willing to work hard in this generation, I believe that you'll steamroll people. I think that, like you've creating this brand, right? You're creating this show. There's not a lot of kids your age that are doing this. And so like you're already showing you're willing to do more than most kids, and you're gonna steamroll people, and you're gonna make it because you're willing to do this in high school when kids are waiting to college to start classes and be like, how do I learn how to do this? Now you're like, I'm all right. I already am learning how to do this. I'm doing research online. I'm uploading my stuff to YouTube. I'm already learning YouTube's algorithm, how it's gonna work. You've already beating the competition at your age. And so as you get to college, people are gonna be like, I wanna start a platform. You're like, I've already started a platform. I've already got these 1,000 subscribers or whatever you have, and I'm taking off. And now I'm just trying to learn the intricacies and what I can do better at the things I'm already doing well. So you're a great example for these people that are following you of how to work hard, do something that's uncomfortable, because putting yourself out there is not comfortable, and you're doing it, and you're becoming comfortable with it, and then you're gonna find the next thing when you go to the next level in college, and you show people that you can do it. And then you're gonna be uncomfortable with that, but then you're gonna be comfortable, and then you're gonna go be the next Stephen A. Smith or whatever you want to do, So.
Appreciate it.
No
great compliment. I just started college this fall and everything.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so I've just, I started this kind of towards the end of my high school career and got doing that. So, it was great. So, What are anything else you want to add on, just with your experiences, your favorite memories, or your advice?
Last thing I leave everybody on is just if you've got a passion for something and you're working towards something and you want something, just go do it. And if parents are listening, I would never tell parents how to parent their children, but if your kid has a dream, don't stop them. Like, who are you to tell them that they can't be the next big person? All those people that made it were kids that had a dream once, and if their parents told them not to do something, if their parents held them back, they wouldn't be who they are today. So, I appreciate my family, I appreciate my parents for allowing me to take every step towards my dream that I could. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't make it because of their support. And if you're a family member and you've got a relative that is striving for something, just push them and encourage them along the way. And that's the biggest thing. Family is the biggest thing. And if you support people, it means more than anything in the world. So
I definitely agree with that point. So.
No.
Yeah, good luck to you, Henry. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, brother.
And
Appreciate it.
look forward to seeing you coaching the NFL one day, hopefully.
No doubt. I'll hit you up then.